Let's start with our political roundtable. Eamon is at Politico headquarters, and Marc is here with us at the desk. This happened to me one time where Walter Cronkite forgot my name. It was the longest 30 seconds
well,
in
so
my.
Much has happened this week that, you know.
I'm having trouble getting it all together here, Marc. I apologize. This was almost a term.
Yeah.
For Barack Obama in about 2 weeks here.
I mean, and the primary effect of it, I think, is that it really re-energized the Democratic Party, which is, if you think about the past 14 months, a task that would have seemed Herculean, and yet in 1 week, you've gone from having a demoralized Democratic Party to a party that now has accomplishments to run on in the fall and enthusiasm. I don't know if this entirely changes the complexion of the midterms, because a lot of perceptions are hardened and are set pretty early, but I think we're looking at a new political environment this week.
Well, you know, it's interesting because, Eamon, I want to get your take on this. To hear the Republicans tell it, the fact that President Obama prevailed this week may be the worst thing that ever happened to him, because they're saying that it is going to have such ramifications in November that it could cost Democrats the House and Senate. What's your take? Do you think that is actually possible?
You know, Republicans were a lot more confident about that before the health care vote than they are now after it. You do get this sense that Republicans are a little bit skittish now, saying, hey, wait a second, did we do the right thing here politically? Because there was an expectation that Democrats would really take a beating on the health care vote. But since the vote has been taken, we've seen the poll numbers move in the president's direction. He's gotten a real bounce politically out of this week, and he's gotten momentum on things he wants to do elsewhere, including Wall Street reform. All of a sudden, Republicans abandoned their amendments to that in committee, and that thing is moving on a greased track right now in Congress as well. So the president suddenly holds the upper hand after 2 months or more where he was really looking very, very weak.
Well, one thing that has diminished, though, is the noise level. We're seeing these so-called Tea Party folk and some people on the right who are saying, we will never let this die. We actually had incidents of vandalism at some members of Congress's offices. These people are vowing to have town meetings of their own now that the Congress is back in their home state. What do you see as the impact of that, Eamon? Do you think that's to be taken seriously, or will it just play itself out?
No, I think it does have to be taken very, very seriously. I mean, we live in an extremely divided country politically right now, and an extremely emotional country right now. And on both sides, you see this level of anger and frustration that we haven't really seen in recent years, and it's a little bit scary and creepy to see some of these incidents happen around the country in the wake of the health care vote. And I think that folks in Washington have to pay a very close attention to that, and I think that law enforcement has to pay close attention to that to find out where this is coming from and whether it poses a threat for escalation or not.
We should say, for the record, that Republican leaders in both the House and Senate have denounced violence and said this is not the way to go. But you're also seeing, Marc, some Republicans say that Democrats are shamelessly trying to exploit this and use it to their own advantage.
Well, you know, they have a point, because what Democrats want to do is cast the entire Republican Party as being representative of the extremes of the Tea Party movement, because they know that Republicans, in order to take back the House and perhaps the Senate, need a lot of Republican-leaning independents to vote for them. And Republican-leaning independents are turned off by the Tea Partiers. So the more the Democrats make noise about the Tea Partiers, in theory, the better it is for the Democratic Party. But boy, if you think the noise level is high now, wait until we start debating immigration. I just have a feeling that what we see now as extreme and poisonous is going to pale in comparison to what we see when that debate starts later in this year.
Do either of you have any fix on when we're going to see that debate?
You know, I think I've been asking this, and it's a moving target. But my sense is that ideally Democrats want to have the debate at a time when they can, because you probably can't get something passed before November, but they want to have a debate that allows for the Tea Partiers and Republicans to have this massive spasm of reaction and energize and make more enthusiastic Latino voters as well, and not figure out a way not to turn off the Democratic-leaning independents who need to vote as well. So I'm thinking at some point in the summer is probably when we're looking at it. But I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're trying to figure it out right now. In part because, as he said, the track is greased now, and a lot of things, cybersecurity, financial reform that we're taking a lot longer time are gonna push through a lot more quickly. So the Senate and the House are going to have more time to play with, I think.
Eamon, I would say that while there's going to be a spirited debate on immigration reform, my bet at this point would simply be that there will be a lot of noise, but in the end they won't get immigration reform this week. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think there's no way they get it done this year. It's simply too big and too massive. And Marc is right. I mean, the emotion on that is going to trump what we saw with health care, and that was already pretty extreme. The question for Democrats now is whether they want to pick a fight on immigration this year before the election, or they don't want to pick a fight, because they're clearly not going to get a bill before the election. So I could see the White House deciding, you know what, we're going to hold off on that. They have been holding meetings over at the White House on this issue to sort of get things lined up, but they might hold off on making a big push because they don't want to open that can of worms before the election, particularly now that things look like they're really improving for Democrats. What they want to do is focus on jobs. With unemployment at 10% or nearly 10%, they need to show between now and November they're doing everything they can to put Americans back to work. Doing immigration at a time when they're trying to focus on jobs, it might not send the right message that they're looking to send ahead of the election.
I would certainly agree with that. Well, I'm going to thank both of you very much for those insights today.